of the Aksandarsh Committee, many of the members present here are attached to this organization. It's an NGO organization with its offices all over India and even abroad, to help the poor, needy, helpless, and to help in any calamity like Corona. They're always on the forefront to serve. So I'm very proud and honored to be attached to this organization and being the national president of its medical cell. And this event was organized in collaboration with Max Super Specialty Hospital, Mohali. So we as the team of MASC, we are very proud to be attached with this organization. Most of the members here, they are attached to this organization. I'll name a few who are not doctors, but since they are office bearers. We have with us Dr. Harish Sharma. He is the founder president. Mr. Rajkumar Khosla is Punjab president. Rajesh Arora, he is Punjab General Secretary. And Dr. Diljit is here. He is also attached to this organization. Many of the eminent and renowned doctors of this city, they are linked to this organization and helping the society in their own way. I think I would like to kindly request everyone present here to please give their introduction themselves, so that few of the faces who are not known to each other can be acquainted, and also Dr. Sajal Thakkar, who is our guest speaker for the evening, will come to know about the gathering present here. So let me start. We have Dr. Suresh Shur.
I'm Dr. Jaspreet Singh Grover. I'm a surgeon and running my own hospital by the name of Peace Hospital. And I am secretary of this organization, Manavati Aksandarsh Committee.
Good evening, Dr. Inderpal Singh Pasricha, running my own hospital, Pasricha Medical Care Center, and also managing director of Amritsar Enviro Systems Private Limited, managing biomedical waste.
So Dr. Shimsher Singh, retired as Director Health and Family Welfare, Punjab. I am MD Medicine and I am doing my private practice nowadays at Taranda. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Raman Gupta's friend. I think that is my first introduction. And incidentally, I happen to be a neurosurgeon. So Dr. Raman is doing such good work, and we welcome the group from Max Hospital.
Dr. A.P. Singh, that's my name. I'm an ophthalmologist and classmate of Dr. Arun Gupta. I am from Chandigarh. I was really pleased to meet Hamsa from Max Hospital. Thank you very much, everyone.
I'm Dr. Pooja. I am working as professor in Department of ENT at SCRD, Amritsar.
I am Dr. Vikram. I am working as Associate Professor Surgical Oncology, Government Medical College, Amritsar. Few of my colleagues must be working with you, Ritesh, Pruthi, and Anand. They were with us in that college.
Myself, Dr. Seema Mittal. I am a plastic surgeon and running my own hospital in the name of iPlast.
Good evening, I am Dr. Raman Mittal and I am the director of iPlast Plastic Surgery Center. I happen to be oculoplastic and ocular oncologist, so I very well know Dr. Sajal Thakkar from the very beginning when he came back to Punjab. Actually, it's a coincidence that his mentor and my mentor, they were a team, and now we both are a team and try to treat ocular oncology patients. Welcome you, Dr. Thakkar, in our hometown.
I'm a bachelor in dental surgery as a dental surgeon. I basically used to work in a clinic in Gundala as a partner, and I'm also attached with this organization as an organizing secretary. And I just welcome Dr. Kakkar that he just come up with this very nice topic. So welcome, sir.
I am Dr. Aman Gupta. I am a general surgeon running my own hospital near Amritsar. We also welcome Dr. Pawan Gupta. He is a general surgeon. He is running his hospital at Mejita. So, brief introduction about our guest speaker today. We have with us a very renowned and eminent radiation and clinical oncologist from Max Subspecialty Hospital, Mohali, Dr. Sajal Kakkar. Dr. Sajal Kakkar is also an Associate Director of Max Subspecialty Hospital. He has more than 15 years of experience in oncology. He is trained at Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai, University of Michigan, USA, and Institut Gustave Roussy in France. So he has been an assistant professor in head radiation oncology, HIHT University, Dehradun, and also a consultant in Apollo Hospital, Hyderabad. He has to his credit various paper presentations in various national and international conferences, and also publications in peer-reviewed journals. So I would invite Dr. Sajal Kakkar to please enlighten us, update our knowledge, and about the recent advances and trends on a very important topic, radiation therapy in the treatment of cancer. Please welcome Dr. Sajal Kakkar with a hearty applause.
Everyone for this opportunity, and it's really heartening to see all of you here. And of course, it's a welcome break from the webinars which all of us were attending since last 2 years, probably sometime forced to attend. So Amritsar always has a special place, being a holy city, the warmth exuded by the people of Amritsar, and the food, of course. And it's also a place of associated with Rafi Saab, the famous singer. And my better half is from Amritsar, so apne aap hi city achhi ho jati hai. So I am an oncologist and basically radiation oncologist as far as my training goes. So radiation oncology is a branch which is quite underrated as far as oncology is concerned. And in our medical curriculum, we are exposed very little to this specialty. Even the patients, our society also, they doesn't know what actually is radiation. When the patient comes to us, they think कि डॉक्टर साहब कुछ करंट लगाने वाले हैं या कुछ जला देंगे आप हमें. So there are a lot of ignorances and misconceptions as far as this branch is concerned. So in a very simplified way, I try to give you an overview what actually is the field of radiation oncology and what we are doing in this specialty. So can we dim the lights, please? Team of oncologists in our hospital. So I'm really proud to be associated with this team. Cancer, we know, has achieved now an epidemic proportion. Every now and then we come to hear that gentlemen or ladies suffering from this disease. Approximately 14 lakh new cases are diagnosed in our country every year. That is almost 1 lakh cases every month. And unfortunately, up to 70-80% cases are still diagnosed in stage 3 and stage 4. So probably we need to create awareness in our society that cancer is definitely curable. The only thing is it should be diagnosed properly early stage and the correct treatment should be given. And yes, cancer is a teamwork. No individual specialty can cure cancer. Or you as a primary caregiver, we as an oncologist, we all need to be involved together to deliver the best to our patient. One of the examples what I have learned about this teamwork is by working in Tata Memorial Hospital. And then in Hyderabad, where Dr. Mittal was associated with us, Elvin Prasad Eye Hospital and Apollo Hospital had a very good popular oncology network. So a lot of cases from India and across the neighboring countries used to come for treatment of these eye tumors in Hyderabad. And another glorious example of a teamwork. To give the best to our patient is very important as far as cancer is concerned. Nowadays, if the cartilage is free, we tend to do organ preservation. We do concurrent chemoradiation and reserve surgery for residual or recurrent disease. Breast cancer, if we see, more and more ladies, even elderly ladies, are opting for breast conservation surgery. so as to maintain the cosmesis. So organ preservation has come now in a big way. Reconstructive surgeries are now very important part of the oncology practice to give best to our patients so that they can easily mingle back in the society once the treatment is over. So radiation oncology is quite an old branch. After surgery in late 19th century when the X-rays were discovered, after that the radiation was started to be used in various types of skin tumors. And as we have evolved, our branch of oncology or radiation oncology in general also has gone a sea change, especially in the last 2 decades. Now, there are a lot of questions as far as radiation is concerned, probably in your mind also. What is radiation? How it is given? How it is measured? What are the side effects? So, in next 15-20 minutes, I will take you through the speed of radiation oncology. Radiation is nothing but a part of electromagnetic spectrum. The visible light, ultraviolet rays, we all know. And then comes X-rays and gamma rays. So these X-rays and gamma rays basically are used for therapeutic benefit. Gamma rays basically are emitted intranuclearly from cobalt source. We have telecobalt machines which are used to treat radiation patients. And then we have linear accelerators. You must have heard of the term linear accelerators. So these are the machines which are used nowadays to deliver radiation and they emit the X-rays. And ultimately, how radiation is going to kill the cell? It's by DNA damage. So the underlying process is DNA damage. And radiation is not able to recognize which is normal cell and what is the tumor cell. So whatever is coming in the path of radiation is going to be annihilated. And we as an oncologist have to decide the path the radiation has to follow so as to minimize the toxicity and give the best control rates as far as tumor is concerned. So how radiation is delivered? So there are 2 terms, teletherapy and brachytherapy. So tele, as the name indicates, radiation is delivered from a distance. Patient is placed on a table or a couch and radiation comes from a distance. So that is basically teletherapy. So cobalt machines, linear accelerators are all teletherapy equipments which is commonly used for delivering radiotherapy. Brachytherapy is basically internal radiation. In general terms we call it internal radiation. In brachytherapy we place the radioactive source in very close proximity to the tumor. Like in gynecological malignancies, this is an indispensable part, esophageal cancers, eye tumors, there is plaque brachytherapy which is used by the ocular oncologist for treating the uveal tumors. So brachytherapy in some malignancies form an integral part of treatment. It's very important, very operator dependent, it's a highly skilled art to do brachytherapy. Radiotherapy, if we see what are the indications, radiotherapy is a primary modality in adjunct with chemotherapy in orbital tumors, laryngopharyngeal malignancies, cervical cancer, esophageal cancers, anal canal cancers. It is also used in pre or post-operative settings in breast cancers, oral cavity malignancies, brain tumors, gastric malignancy and so on. So almost 60 to 70% of patients in their natural history of disease will require radiation either in a curative intent or maybe for the palliative intent. Now as a radiation oncologist, we follow a very fine balance between the tumor control as well as toxicities. As I told you, radiation is not able to recognize the normal or the tumor cells. So we need to deliver, the aim is to deliver as high as dose to the tumor and at the same time to preserve the normal tissue. The adjacent normal tissue needs to be preserved. So that is the goal of the radiation oncologist. And to achieve this goal, we have different type of technologies, techniques available with us. Previously there was only one technique available. If we talk about 70s, 80s or late 90s also, that is conventional treatment, 2-dimensional treatment of radiation delivery. Nowadays, you might have heard of these terms, 3D CRT, IMRT, IGRT and R-based treatments are available, which try to help us to reduce the toxicities and deliver the intended dose to the target. So just to explain you in brief what this technology do as far as the treatment goes. So this is a cobalt machine. The telecobalt machine, patient is placed at a distance and from here the beam comes. So the cobalt machine has a live radioactive source which emit gamma rays. And in these machines, the aperture opens in a square or a rectangle form. So whatever field size you want to treat, for example for a cervical malignancy, you open it usually 15 by 15 centimeter of field size. Head and neck cancer. So this is basically a patient of carcinoma done, post-operative phase. So this is the field which we have marked. So we are going to treat the tumor, the tumor bed area, and we are obviously treating the lymph nodal bed. Bilateral cervical region also will be irradiated. Now the problem with this technique is, apart from the intended target, the normal tissues are going to be exposed to radiation. So what are the normal tissues here? Parotid gland, submandibular salivary glands, larynx, pharyngeal muscles. These all will be exposed to the radiation, and patients are going to suffer from the side effect or the late toxicities of treatment. That is, in head and neck malignancies, xerostomia. Dryness of mouth is a major problem with the patients. People, they are not able to eat chapati in their lifetime once these type of radiation are delivered because there is no saliva production. And there are other problems like osteonecrosis, radionecrosis of jaw, which patients suffer from. Dysphagia aspiration is another problem. Sometimes it's a silent problem or a silent killer. Patient, they keep on aspirating, and it becomes a major headache later on. So these are some of the late toxicities which patients suffer from these traditional way of delivering radiation. So how the advancements have happened? 3D CRT or 3D conformal radiotherapy. In this, as I was telling you previously, the jaw, the radiation aperture opens in a square or rectangular form. Here we can open the jaw is replaced by independently moving leaves. Now these leaves can open into any irregular shape. So we do a CT based planning. On the CT scan we draw the target and these leaves come there. And so whatever is the irregular target, the leaves will open and take the shape of the target. Rest of the tissue which is below this area will obviously shield it from the radiation. So from this aperture, every corner we will be giving a uniform dose of radiation. So we can save a normal tissue to a better extent. I try to explain you through a video. So this is basically the jaw, and you will see the leaves will start opening and they will take the shape. From here the radiation beam comes. So whatever as per the plan the shape of tumor is, so the leaves will open, take the shape and treat the patient. So while during the treatment the leaves are static, they don't move. But from different angles the machine rotates, the leaves move and deliver the treatment. And this area are all shaded. Radiation is coming only in this area. So with this we started saving normal tissues to a considerable extent as compared to the traditional way of treatment. So the next advancement which revolutionized our field, and it came in almost 10-15 years back, is IMRT, intensity modulated radiotherapy. As the name indicates, intensity modulation, like in 3D CRT there was uniform dose coming from the aperture. In IMRT the intensity varies. One corner can get high dose, one corner can get lower dose. For example, we are treating a laryngeal malignancy. So the laryngeal malignancy is surrounded by spinal cord. So there is spinal cord in the center. We are treating the larynx and cervical nodes. So how to save this cord? So near the cord we can deliver lower dose, and around the cord wherever the target is we can deliver higher dose. So this way we modulate the intensity and save the normal tissues to a better extent as compared to IMRT. I will again show you a video of breast cancer where the IMRT is delivering the treatment. Now the another difference is in these techniques, the leaves which I told you was static in 3D CRT, they are moving during the treatment, and that's how they give you intensity modulation. So this red is the chest wall, now this is spinal cord, lungs and the opposite breast. So the leaves are moving during the treatment and hence the intensity is varying. Somewhere it is delivering dose, somewhere it is closed. Somewhere it is delivering dose, somewhere it is closed. As it sees opposite breast, it is closed, spinal cord, no dose. So in this way we are able to deliver again a better form of radiation. We can save normal tissues to a considerable extent further with this IMRT. So just to give you a representation from a cartoon, so this is the tumor, and if we see the traditional conventional radiotherapy, we are treating this entire rectangle. So tumor is here only, but this all orange area which is a normal tissue is getting radiation. If we do 3D CRT, so this is the blue oval of 3D CRT. We can save some normal tissues. This corner we are able to save with 3D CRT. And if we see IMRT is this red cloud. So with IMRT we are able to save normal tissues to a significantly better extent. We cannot save each and every inch of tissue. That's why the toxicities happen. But with IMRT we can save a considerable amount of normal tissue and deliver the dose painted around our tumor. So this is the beauty of IMRT. So what next from after IMRT? Then came IGRT or image guided radiotherapy. Now the another problem is our target tumors are moving structures usually. Consider lung cancer. In lung cancer the breathing lung is moving, the tumor is moving. So how to target the tumor? Now, you have planned a patient in a CT scan in a particular position of the tumor, And while the patient is breathing on the machine, the tumor is moving, and the studies have shown it's almost 1.5 centimeter in longitudinal direction the movement happens, especially in lower lobe malignancies in the lung. Again, breast cancer, patient is getting treated but chest is moving with the breathing. So how to account this? For this we have image guided radiotherapy. Here we have CT scanners mounted on the linear accelerator. So this is the linear accelerator, these are the miniature CT scans. And we have another tracking devices which help us to track the tumor and then deliver the treatment. This is the study as I was telling you. If you see the lung cancer, almost to the tune of 1 centimeter there is movement in craniocaudal direction. Movement also happens laterally as well as in anterior-posterior direction. And that's why sometimes this leads to residual disease, recurrent diseases happens early because sometimes we miss the tumor. So what we do, especially lung cancer is concerned, if you see the lung tumors will be moving while the breathing, this is a cartoon which I just wanted to show you. Now what we do when we are doing the planning, we like ECG, we make a graph of breathing pattern of the patient. So this pattern is made from the hardware and software what is available, and we try to treat the tumor in a one particular phase. For example, deep inspiration. So when the patient is in the deep inspiration phase while lying down on the couch, then only beam will become on. And when patient is breathing out, beam will be off. So in this way we are tracking the tumor and trying to treat the tumor in a particular phase of breathing or a respiration cycle, so as to not miss the tumor, which I was telling you, it is the tumor motion to account for the tumor motion. So this is image guided radiotherapy, another advancement which has happened in the recent 10 years. Just few examples I will try to show you so as to make you understand what is the difference these techniques make. The tongue cancer, I was showing you a patient of tongue cancer. If you see this orange envelope, so this is the high dose area. This patient is treated in a conventional radiotherapy manner, left and from the right side. So tongue is a midline structure, we treat from the left lateral position and right lateral position. If you see now, the tongue is getting treated, the nodal areas will be treated, but these are the parotid glands, the buccal mucosa will get very high dose. Same dose which the tongue target is receiving, and hence the toxicities. Mucositis, xerostomia, sometimes patients stop the treatment in between because of these toxicities. If we see these treatments, the high precision treatment, what I was telling you, the high dose area is beautifully enveloping only the intended target. The parotid gland, the buccal mucosa, they are receiving low dose of radiation, but not the high dose of radiation. So we are able to save these normal tissues to a considerable extent. If we see a cervical cancer, again a common problem in our country. So cervical cancer we treat in this way. This is the rectangle what you are seeing is the portal for treating cervical cancer. We are treating the cervical area as well as the iliac nodal chain. But what happens, we treat a significant amount of urinary bladder, if you see here, rectum, as well as femur, head and neck. Hence patients suffer from radiation-induced proctitis. You must be experiencing, must have seen patients coming with post-radiation bleeding PR, post-radiation cystitis, and sometimes avascular necrosis of femur. So this problem happens with the traditional treatment. Now with this advanced forms, you see here, high dose area, this is the iliac nodal chain. Surgeons can appreciate better because you are doing pelvic nodal clearances. So this is the pelvic node we are treating, the entire chain. We are treating the uterus and cervix area, sparing the bladder and rectum. So now we have even randomized control trial, level 1 evidence, recently published trial from Tata Memorial Hospital, which clearly says in pelvic malignancies, the incidence of GI toxicities, late toxicities are very low. So we should try to use this high precision treatment for treating our patients, especially of pelvic malignancies. Breast cancer I was showing you traditional way. A lot of significant amount of lung and heart comes and leading to late toxicities. But if we see the ARC-based treatment, we are able to save the heart and lung from the high dose region in the breast cancer. Prostate cancer, the problem is the dose which is required, radiation dose. If you are treating the patient of prostate with radiotherapy, the dose which is required is almost the tune of 80 gray. Gray is the unit of radiation. And the normal tissues in the vicinity, as you know, prostate is surrounded by bladder anteriorly, rectum posteriorly, bowel also is there. Their tolerance, every organ in the body has a radiation tolerance. So tolerance of bladder and rectum is to the tune of around 50 to 60 gray. So how to deliver this 80 gray when the tolerance of normal tissue is only 50 to 60 gray? So previously we were not able to treat patients beyond 70 gray because it would have led to lot of toxicity which were difficult to manage. So patients were not able to receive such a high doses of radiation, but nowadays again with this precision guided radiotherapy, we are able to deliver the intended dose and save bladder and rectum from the toxicity. So toxicity's profile has changed a lot now. The intensity or severity of toxicity is significantly reduced with these treatments. Now coming to the world of neuro-oncology, stereotactic techniques is used by neurosurgeons in gamma knife centers, and this stereotactic basically is a three-dimensional concept where a small tumor is localized in three-dimensional space and a very high dose is given. So this is basically used for very small tumors, and this technique was first evolved in 70s by a neurosurgeon, Lexel, and it was used in brain tumors, and nowadays it is also used in extracranial tumors also. So this type of treatment, high dose, can be delivered to small tumors, which is possible with the new machinery what we have nowadays. And this is unparalleled. Stereotactic treatment for metastasis in eye tumors, meningiomas, skull-based tumors, spine metastasis, nowadays even lung metastasis, oligometastatic disease, where we have small amount of metastatic disease in lung or liver, maybe 2, 3, up to 4 lesions. We are treating this stereotactic therapy if suppose metastatectomy is not possible. So these stereotactic treatments are an option which are available with us nowadays. Just to share with you, this is the case which we did in Apollo Hyderabad. So in this, the patient came from the L.V. Prasad Eye Hospital, carcinoma breast. We treated, patient was on follow-up. She developed choroidal metastasis. So you can see there is a choroidal lesion here. So what to do now? See, if you treat it conventionally, you need to irradiate entire eyeball, the orbital area. But with this stereotactic treatment, this is the high dose region. We just treated the posterior chamber of the eye, the choroidal area, and we got a very good local control with preservation of the vision. This patient, incidentally, after 1 year came with the choroidal metastasis in the opposite eye also, and that also received then stereotactic radiosurgery treatment. Brain metastasis, you must be knowing, brain metastasis usually the dictum is to give whole brain radiotherapy. That is the treatment. You irradiate entire brain. But nowadays, even in metastatic cancers, with the availability of a good effective systemic treatment, even patients with brain metastasis are surviving a lot. Previously, the survival used to be 6 months post getting a metastasis in brain. So nowadays, if we do whole brain RT, patient is surviving for 1 year, 2 years, they now experience a lot of late toxicities of radiation. Giving whole brain radiation associated with a lot of toxicities. So nowadays, if we have 3 or 4 lesions, we do again stereotactic treatment, just treat the lesion, don't irradiate the entire whole brain. So we just treat the brain lesions and keep the patient on follow-up or observation. Acoustic neuroma, the neurosurgeon is here in the audience, so the surgery is an option, but yes, even now radiosurgery or radiotherapy treatment is also equally effective in cases of vestibular schwannomas. Lung cancer. Now sometimes we catch lung tumors in a very early stage. Small tumors, T1 tumors, but an elderly patient and medically inoperable. There are contraindications for surgery. A surgery cannot be done, which is a gold standard as far as lung cancer, early lung cancer is concerned. In these cases also, we are doing stereotactic treatment. Just treat the lung tumor, very high doses, delivered in 3 to 5 days, and we have seen very good results. Even now, there are a lot of trials which have been published as far as this stereotactic treatment is concerned, vis-a-vis comparison with surgery in medically inoperable cases. So this is a case again we treated, post 6 months we had a very good results as far as this patient is concerned. I would like to share another important technique which basically is done quite routinely in Tata Memorial Hospital. They pioneered this technique, this is extracorporeal radiotherapy, and 2 years back we implemented this technique in the Tri-City. We were one of the first centers in Tri-City to do this technique. So what we do here, bone tumors. So bone tumors, bone sarcomas are another glorifying example of multidisciplinary treatment. So nowadays we try to avoid amputation. We try to do limb salvage, if possible, in our young patients, because these tumors usually happen in children and adolescent age group. Deliver radiotherapy in post-operative